Welcome, friends. Welcome, those of you who know me and those of you who don't. My name is Jem, and I talk about life subjects, and I also discuss death, supernatural, paranormal, because life and death are intertwined. And as Einstein and Tesla both said, time is not linear. In other words, 4000 BC and 3343 AD are happening right here, right now, all at the same time. So that puts a new perspective on when we do paranormal investigations. Are we communicating with ghosts, or is it a time slip? I would really love to know your comment, and I've asked this many times. Anyway, today is going to be about paranormal. And no, it's not going to be about the paranormal that's happening in my house. As I promised you, I said I would do a little bit of research on the Scole experiment, spelt S-C-O-L-E. Now for those of you who know, when I do research, I now copy it to Word. So just let me change my screens and I'll tell you what I found. Now, really, I haven't got all the time to tell you everything that happened in the Scole experiment, except to tell you that there were disembodied voices. At times there were hands. At times things materialized and dematerialized. And there was film, unused, brand new film put in on the table, and no one would touch it, and under absolute scrutiny. And later that film was developed, and it would have faces, messages, etc. There were also a time when there were beautiful light shows. So I'm not going to cover absolutely everything here because that would take too long. So I'm going to tell you very briefly about the Scole experiment. Now, the Scole experiment was a series of investigations conducted between 1993 and 1998 in Scole, a small village in England. Now, before I continue, I don't know why they ended it after 5 years when they would start, because apparently the longer they did it, and they I think they were meeting 4 or 5 times a week in a little dark basement. The more they met, the more intense the phenomenon got, and they were producing more and better results. So we'll come back to that, if I remember, at the end of my discussion. Anyway, this experiment aimed to explore and document paranormal phenomena, particularly related to physical mediumship and communication with spirits. The primary participants of the Scole experiment were a group of 5 individuals: Robin and Sandra Foy, Diana and Alan Bennett, and Marcello Bacchi, an Italian medium. Now, I think it was Diana and Alan Bennett were also mediums, and Originally, there was just the four of them in Scole before they met up with Marcello, because Marcello had developed a type of radio instrument where you actually had communication with the dead, and people who had lost loved ones swear that through his radio device they heard the voice and communication with the others. But originally in England, it was just Robin and Sandra, Diana and Alan. And I think it was in Robin and Sandra's house in the basement. And Diana and Alan were the mediums, and they allowed voices or spirits to speak through them, so they channeled. But eventually there were voices, it could have been anywhere from the room, and as I said, even at times hands appeared. But let's continue. So they conducted the experiments in a cellar within the Scole Village Hall, which they claimed had favourable conditions for paranormal activities. Now that's what my research says, but I watched a documentary that Robin and Sandra claimed it was their home, and they showed actually in this documentary a room that had been painted with dark colours. So whether it was their home or the Scole Village Hall, I'm not sure. You will have to check those facts, because that's different, isn't it? Anyway, during the sessions, various phenomena were reported, including the apparent communication with spirits, the manifestation of physical objects, spirit voices recorded on tapes, and the appearance of luminous orbs and lights. The investigators claimed that these experiences were evidence of the existence of an afterlife and the ability to communicate with the deceased. The Scole experiment gained attention and was documented by researchers, journalists, and parapsychologists. The investigators used a variety of equipment such as cameras, tape recorders, and infrared devices to capture the phenomena. They also implemented strict protocols to prevent fraud and ensure the integrity of the experiments. Critics and skeptics argued that the Scole experiment lacked proper scientific controls and that the phenomena could be explained by conventional means such as trickery or misinterpretation. Some suggested that the investigators were skilled in illusion, or that they were influenced by their own beliefs and expectations. Now, when I was watching this documentary, remember I said they had unused rolls of film, and afterwards they would find on the film faces. There was also writing in Arabic, Sumerian, German especially, and apparently none of these people knew these languages. So who knows? And also there was a very famous magician, I forget his name, it was on the documentary, and this magician knew all the tricks, how to trick you with illusions, and he went there and he reckoned it was authentic. So make of it what you believe, but let's continue. The Scole experiment generated controversy with the paranormal research community. While some regarded it as compelling evidence for the existence of paranormal phenomena, others remained skeptical and demanded further rigorous investigation. It's worth noting that the Scole experiment has been subject to limited scientific scrutiny, and attempts to replicate the results have not been successful. The lack of independent verification and the controversial nature of the experiments have contributed to ongoing debates regarding its validity and significance. In conclusion, the Scole experiment was a series of investigations conducted to explore paranormal phenomena and communication with spirits. While it generated interest and sparked debates, its scientific credibility and general acceptance remain a subject of controversy. Coming back, also in this documentary, they at one time were in touch with a psychic, and she was Scottish, and she in the 1940s got done for witchcraft, and at the same time they were channeling her. A 1940s newspaper appeared and they rigorously tested it, and apparently that type of ink that was on the newspaper doesn't exist today. So I've come to several conclusions. Number one, either the Scole experiment was authentic and did show evidence of afterlife, because I do believe in the afterlife. I've done my own experiments if you've watched my videos, and I channel spirits as well. Number two, they were not channeling deceased ones, but were channeling entities that were tricking them. And you can go down this path if you're a Christian and say it's demonic, leading away from God. I don't say that, but that's one argument. Number three, that they were illusions. Number four, that they really believed in their own power, that all this was actually generated from their own psyche, that it wasn't spirits, but that the power of them and their belief manifested all this stuff. The fact that these results can't be replicated shows something unusual happened. Even the magician, the famous British magician, tried to replicate the results and he couldn't do it. Apparently, they also had the International Psychic Research, doctors and different scientists go and watch, and they were convinced, but they said that because science doesn't really study the afterlife, because you can't study the afterlife. The afterlife can't generate data. We can do EMFs and we can do, spirit voice sessions, EMPs and things like that, and what's happening in my situation and seances, but it's not really verifiable that it's coming from an afterlife. It could be, like I said, from the fact that time's not linear, so that worlds are bleeding into each other, or it could be coming from the medium, the psychic themselves. The Scole experiment, they were so successful that they went to 5 or 6 different countries, including California, where they had great success. Some people even reported being healed at some of these sessions, and that they would see orbs. Say you were injured here, an orb would go into here, and next minute the pain was gone. Now, the power of belief, we can't dismiss that. We believe and faith, and we see and believe what we want to believe. And anyway, going back to science doesn't study the afterlife because it's not verifiable. There's no laws. All they have is a theory, and scientists don't like that. They like it, to be provable, and we can't prove this. We can't. Now, I have to question. I am a psychic medium, and I have to question this. If for 5 years you are getting these amazing results, why did you suddenly cease? Now, as I said, they did at times. There's a dispute here because some say that they were under rigorous scrutiny, that investigators did walk around to see if there's any string or trickery or anything that could be done. And I think at one time they all wore a special bundle that, what's it called? That note that goes zip. If you take it off, they know that the game was up, and still they got results. I question, if for 5 years and you're getting better and better results, why would you suddenly stop? Were they scared that they were going to be caught, that they were deceptive? I don't know. I don't even know if these people are alive anymore, because they were, when I saw the documentary was done 2011, and they were middle-aged then. But why? The other interesting thing is, this magician who reckoned it was authentic said, why would these people, because they didn't apparently make any money out of it, if they were tricking people, they could have gone on and made millions because of how spectacular their sessions were. But instead, they didn't. But I still, even though I'm a believer and have written my own spiritual books about this, I remain skeptical myself that, am I being deceived? We really don't know what. I mean, it would be very easy for an entity who knows a grieving person like me to pretend to be Rob, and I would hold on to that, and they would get off on that. And I don't know about this demonic thing, trying to take us away from God, because the Scole Experiment, everything was loving and beautiful, just like mine is love. But again, I remain skeptical. Are we being deceived? And the other thing we've got to think about is, if we are living not in base reality but simulation, then were they just simulating a simulation? That's another thing. All right, I'm going on for way too long. I would really, really like to know your thoughts. Let me know if you know a little bit more about the Scole Experiment than I do. because the 2011 documentary that I saw said it was done at those people's homes. The research I've just done said no, it was done in the Scole Community Hall. And also, the 2011 documentary I watched said there was rigorous scrutiny and there was doctors and scientists who attended some of their sessions. That again is in repute or disreputed by my research. So if you know more about the Scole experiment, I would be happy for you to leave a comment. I would also be happy if you left a comment about the paranormal and about, hearing voices on radio devices. Apparently Edison had one machine that he said that could talk to the dead, and he died just before he built it. So please leave a comment. What's your thoughts about the paranormal? Because I also vaguely, because I was a Christian when I was young, and I remember somewhere in the Bible that says necromancy is forbidden. And Satan, if you're a Christian, would use necromancy to take one away from God. I am not religious, nor am I trying to say that that's the case, but you might be. And I'm interested to know, do you think this is evil? Do you think this is demonic? Do you think this is alien? Do you think this is a simulation? All right, I am well and truly done for today. Thank you very much. Tomorrow I won't be on. I'll be doing volunteering. And Wednesday you may see me. And again, also leave a comment. Are you happy with these videos? What kind of videos would you like me to do? I keep asking, and I still haven't got any answers. So I'm still very much in the dark, and I'm still very much doing videos that interest me. But if I want to grow an audience, I need to do videos that would interest an audience. Not that I'm worried about subscribers, but I do want to be interesting. I don't want to be just wasting my time or yours. Okay, remember, cherish every moment, and every life matters, and you know it. I love you. Thanks for watching Jem's channel. Bye, and have a wonderful Monday, and happy birthday, the 13th birthday to my granddaughter. Love yous.